lead together, embrace change, enhance everyone's journey. The 3 core principles of SmartStop, a leader in self-storage real estate across North America, reinforce why we're proud to bring you SheEO Lead-In, the podcast featuring curated conversations with powerful women sharing their impactful wisdom. It's a self-knowledge, self-discovery, and self-preneurship audio storage vault created by and for women. SmartStop's presentation of SheEO Lead-In begins right now.
Today, we're here with Dr. Sunita Cooke, although I know you as Sunny. How are you today, Sunny?
I'm great.
Good.
Good to be here.
Yes, and you're with MiraCosta College. You're the CEO president, but what's happening next? I think you've got a little bit of a change coming.
I do. I announced that I would be retiring in July or August, summer of 2026. And in our line of work, we need to kind of give a long ramp for our board of trustees to be able to do a national search. So I have been a president in San Diego County for 19 years. And that is very unusual. I have seen all the other presidents come and go, and it's been a remarkable journey, but it's time to step aside.
Did you know that I've been doing my job for 19 years?
Have you really?
I have. I have. That's a long time. And I would say that the history that you have and all of the county is so remarkable. And I hope you're sharing that with others.
I am. And, it's been fun to watch the leaders in our community grow and develop and take on new roles, and to watch what all of them, not only the higher ed leaders, but the electeds that we have seen grow into new roles. It's been really a neat opportunity.
So let's go back to your childhood.
Yes.
Do you have a fun story that you could share with us that maybe no one knows?
I was born in India. So we immigrated to the United States in the late 60s, and I came with my whole family. And I would say that the thing nobody probably knows is that English was not my first language. It was not my second language. It was my third language. So when I was 5, I was speaking 3 different languages and when I came to the U.S., and when I was in a classroom, I really did not speak in a classroom. When the teacher would ask a question, I'm embarrassed to say, I would walk up to her and whisper it in her ear because I was so kind of, shy about speaking in this third language. And nobody would know that today because I speak plenty. I speak plenty wherever I am, and I'm giving speeches. And so I think that's something that would probably surprise people, is that I've been a child that really didn't feel comfortable in a classroom.
Is that what inspired you to get into education?
I think I am a developer of people. Mm-hmm. So I really find great joy in helping people to, develop their full potential, whether they're our employees or our students. Mm-hmm. So I started by tutoring in school and in college, and really loved watching people grasp information. And that light bulb moment when they say, I get it now, Yeah. And so that was really rewarding for me, both as a tutor and as a, teaching assistant, and then later as a professor. I definitely love it. And now I love developing our employees, in a professional development kind of way.
And your wonderful succession planning. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so important to build that team so that it can, all of the things that you were doing will go all the way into the future and continue that whole bringing people forward and bringing them to their potential, which is so important. So let's talk about one word. Do you have one word that you think that captures who you are?
I think to a great extent, my nickname. So we were talking earlier about my actual name, Sunita, means good conduct. And from that came in high school a nickname, which was Sunny, which has stuck with me forever. And I think that gets to kind of my positive outlook on life. I tend to be quite optimistic and as I look at the future, very hopeful and very optimistic. So I would say that's a lot of words to describe, but I'm very optimistic about the future. And I try to do what I can to, bring about positive futures.
I actually agree with that. And I think there will be a great loss with you leaving. But, again, to succession planning, hopefully you've really brought enough people forward in that same positive manner that see it, believe it, and, really have bought into it so that they continue that because it is good work. I mean, look around. We've got so much negativity in our world.
Yeah.
It's really, I think the people that are very positive have so much influence. And
at MiraCosta, we have done a lot of thinking and looking further into the future and thinking about the futures that we want to create. What do we want to contribute to in the society that we want to live in? And so we've done a lot of work throughout our college to, embolden people with the right tools and the skills and the abilities to really shape the future in a way that they want. And so we keep defining that as just, equitable, and sustainable.
Yeah.
And so I'm really convinced that the next level below me and all of our employees have what it's going to take to try to create a better futures for our next generations.
So let's talk a little bit about, and I would think it would be very tangible, success, how you measure success and failure. And do you have any examples of failure where you actually felt that it was a good thing because it actually led to a success?
I would say we are in a business, we touch lives every day when we're in public education. And we're really clear that the difference that we make in one life then expands to their family members and the next generations. And sometimes we're helping people out of poverty. And that's that first courageous first person that comes to college as a first-generation college student is just really helping to shape the trajectory of their children, their cousins, their nieces, their nephews, all of that kind of thing. So I think every day we count success as a difference we make in a person's life. There are certainly ways to measure that. There are lots of metrics that we use all the time. MiraCosta has won a lot of national recognition as well in really helping more and more students be successful in their educational and professional journeys. I would say as far as a failure, I surround myself with people that are very, very bright, very talented, and much better at what they do than I could be. And so we have a very much of a team approach. So there will be times when I come in with an idea and the vice presidents that I work with are very skillful because they will help me to shift. We'll all talk about something, and I happen to have a team right this moment that is all female. So all the persons that report to me as executives are women. And that's the first time in my life that I've worked on an all-women team, never mind been the leader of one. But we end up making decisions together. And because they all have a different view of the decision, I think there are times when we've either backed up or slowed down or changed a path. That was a decision that we made together. And so I think, while they're not failures, there are definitely ways that I have modified, what I would have done otherwise. And that's been really helpful,
Well, and that's the collaboration part. And, when you look at North County specifically, where you're located, there are two other higher learning education that are women leaders, although I guess Star just recently left Palomar, but also President Neufeld. Is there a lot of collaboration also going on that level as well?
There sure is, yeah. I think as I look at that group, and now Tina Ricaldi is the interim president at Palomar, and we work closely together. We always do. We've always said that, we share students, we share employees. And so when we're about to make a decision that might have ripple effects, we kind of share that together. We'll often get together. And there aren't many people you can share your tribulations with. Yeah. And so it's really important.
They really understand it too, I think, on the same level.
Yes. And they keep confidences because they know that there aren't many people we can talk to about some of the things that we're going through. So really have appreciated now my longest standing colleague is Ellen in that triumvirate of higher ed in North County. And we even just marched in the Martin Luther King parade together. All three of our institutions went as one. And that was really a nice way to represent North County in San Diego.
Absolutely. And I guess at the end of the day, as long as people are getting educated, they're getting prepared for that workforce, because there's a lot going on, I would say, in North County, but even, countywide and, beyond, I would say, just being able to kind of respond to the emerging needs of the employee base is a big deal. And I know that you've done a great job at that. Do you want to talk a little bit about maybe one of the careers that you've really focused on that has been so successful that is kind of a win for you?
Well, I would say for a number of reasons. What I'll talk about is our biomanufacturing bachelor's degree.
Yep.
And part of it is because that's kind of my field. Like I came and I studied and I taught in the biotech field. But we also were one of the first 15 in the state of California that were allowed when the legislation changed in 2015. We were allowed to pilot a bachelor's degree program. And ours built on the strength of our existing biotech program and the needs for life science and biotech workers in San Diego County. And so we offered this bachelor's degree, and people, I think, began to think, oh, we're going to compete with other universities. Well, all of our students that have graduated have told us I would never have a bachelor's had it not been for this program that's local, it's affordable, and it's a place where I was comfortable already.
Yeah.
And so it's really opened up the world of biotech. And what we're finding is we have the same community college students, same demographics, first generation, the racial profile, the gender profile, the age profile. They're all the same in our associate degrees as well as in this bachelor's degree program. And as we track our graduates now, we've had, I think, 7 cohorts of graduates. We are seeing that they are just accelerating up the career ladder so much faster than somebody that comes with a bachelor's degree that comes from a university. We're not quite sure we understand that yet, but their trajectory up through management is accelerated. So I would say, from the fact that we've opened up this great sector for workforce to the acceleration of people who might not otherwise have had a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
It's just a remarkable story all the way through.
Okay, you're kind of getting me thinking here. So what do you think? Do you think it's because are they staying local or are they?
They are.
Okay, so now that's an interesting thought.
So 90% of our graduates generally stay locally. They want to live. They are from here.
Yeah.
They want to stay and live and work locally.
Which is interesting because I think that's the same as CSU.
Yes.
And I think Palomar has that same stat.
Yes.
So when you think about all of the people that you're getting educated and you're creating that workforce, maybe it's successful because they want to stay local and they are creating that workforce and there's so much of them, or, such great numbers that they're actually able to stay local because there is a lot of biotech.
Yes, there is.
And then maybe they're not hiring too many people from outside.
And I think certainly for entry-level jobs and things like that, that is critically important. There are jobs in the San Diego that, in the knowledge base, in the higher end of, where you want to recruit PhDs, you want to recruit, established scientists, where you might want to do a national search.
Yeah.
Often, though, the cost of living in San Diego County is a surprise to people.
Right.
And so they may not stay as long. So growing your own local talent pool and workforce, definitely much more successful, I think.
And then they're also rooted here too. So I think
got family here.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting.
Yeah.
I bet you that has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Like I think you'll find that stat. So let's talk a little bit about balance, which is the $1 million question: balance with work and with your career. How do you feel like you're doing with that? And are there any lessons that you'd like to share with our listeners today?
I when I became a president, my son was in 4th grade.
Oh.
And so it was, he was in elementary school.
Yeah.
And it was really tough to do a big job because it was a life-changing, kind of career for a family. And so, my husband and I have kind of shifted the primary bread earner role somewhat back and forth. And so when I, stepped up, he might step back and so forth. And I think at this point now our son is out of graduate school, has been working. He's a productive, member of society, which is about all we can ask for as parents.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's just my husband and I, we're empty nesters. And so the demands of home are less than when you're trying to raise children. So I always say to people, I think, especially women, I think you can have all that you want in life. You may not be able to have it all at once.
Right.
And so, life is a marathon. And so pace yourself. And there's sometimes you'll make priorities I don't have a lot of hobbies that take a lot of time. Golfing. We gave that up when I had my son. I might go back to it in retirement, but that's not one of the things that is part of this phase of my life.
Right.
I used to be a marathon runner, and being out 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday training is, you can't do it all at once.
Right.
But I certainly have been able to do all that I've wanted to do, just, again, not all at once. So life is about phases.
Definitely. And so you might have grandkids soon, or do you already have them?
I don't have them yet.
Oh,
so,
see, now that could be
One
your
day.
next phase.
One
So
day.
maybe, when you're dealing with the grandkids, which I don't know if you're, sometimes, the grandparents step up and they become primary caregivers for the grandkids while their significant others and their children are actually, working. So, Anyway, let's take a quick pause for a smart stop, and then we'll get back to this interesting conversation.
SmartStop knows the winning connection is when we elevate success together. SmartStop Self Storage, a California company with nearly 200 properties and over 15 million square feet of rentable storage in the US and Canada, is committed to positively impacting the communities we serve on the national and local level. By aligning our core principles of leading together, embracing change, and enhancing everyone's journey with local initiatives. To learn more about our core values, our locations, and career opportunities, please visit us at smartstopselfstorage.com.
So let's talk specifically about being a female leader. And you mentioned that your team right now is all women, but it was the first time ever. Have you ever run into any issues with leading men?
I think that higher ed is a little bit different in that we have a lot of women in education in general, and certainly in administration. But in a president's role, you are interacting with lots of different leaders across the county. Sometimes they're elected officials, sometimes they're corporate, sometimes they're, chamber leaders and so forth. So it's a variety of different kinds of people. And I think there were a lot of years where I would still look around the room and I would say, yep, still the only woman in the room. Yeah. Yep, still the only woman of color in the room.
Yeah.
And that is getting to be less common now. I think there are more women that are in roles of leadership, and so that's always wonderful. And I think, I've learned over the years that we sort of debate differently. Men and women debate differently. We argue our points differently. And I sometimes say I was raised in an all male dominated world. And so I've learned to cope with those styles. I've had to adjust my own style. I think now there are more varieties of ways that we communicate. And so that makes it harder sometimes.
Yeah.
And we still have to work. We talked a little bit about working at communication
Yes.
and listening, deeply listening, actively listening to understand. And I'm not sure everybody has the time or patience or inclination for that, but we need more listening than we do talking. There's a reason why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yep.
And so kind of how it shifted, I think I'm hearing you say, is that now maybe you are experiencing, well, since there are more women in the space than in the beginning, did you have any situations where you felt there was resistance being a president? That's a pretty big job.
I bet you and I have both been in rooms where we said things.
Yes.
And people didn't respond to them.
Yep.
But the man said it moments later, and it was as if it was the greatest idea ever said.
Yeah.
And, you go through that quite a bit as you're earning your stripes and you're earning your, and I think the younger you look, the harder it is, right?
Absolutely.
So now
Yes.
I got some gray hair and I look older and maybe I've earned a little respect, but I think those are the times when it's really frustrating. And I remember once being in a room and a man called that out. So it happened in the room. I said something. They went on as if nothing had been said. A man said the same exact thing. And an older gentleman called that out. And he said, I believe that Sonny said that just about 5 minutes ago. And I thought, well, that's the first time anybody's ever done that for me.
And yay.
Yeah. and yay.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I was at least 60 years old before it ever happened.
Wow.
So I try to do that for others.
Yeah.
I think if you're a man, it's really a wonderful thing if you can speak up for somebody who may not feel like they can. I mean, it doesn't mean that you should speak for them, but when you see something happen and you can politely call out, hey, I think that person really owns that idea.
Yes.
No matter what gender or age somebody is, I think we have the right and the ability to be able to do that. And it means the world to somebody when you stand up for them like that.
Well, yes, it's so encouraging to feel like you have been heard.
Yeah.
Because again, back to the listening, sometimes you feel like you're just sharing things, and then if someone else says the same exact thing, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about role models. And who are your role models in your life?
I would say both of my parents were role models for me very early in life. We come from a long line of people who've been in public service, teachers, nonprofit leaders, people that have, my father was a minister, my mother was a nurse, my sister's a physician. So people that really give to other people. And I think that's been a big part of my life. My mother was very much a career woman and raised 3 kids.
Wow.
She always had a warm, hot, nutritious meal for us, So she taught me how to have a family and be a career woman as well. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's been a great, learning lesson for me. It's very hard at times to raise kids. And sometimes we're taking care of our parents while we're taking care of our kids and we're doing a job. And so, she kind of taught me how to do that with grace, with patience. And we didn't get everything perfectly, we never do, but we do our best every single day.
Well, and it is juggling. And there are moments where you feel like you're doing very well. And then there are moments where you go, okay, not so well. And thank you for bringing in the multi-generational aspect. A lot of people are not realizing how that actually affects their lives. It's juggling a lot.
Very stressful.
Yes.
Financially as well as, emotionally and physically.
Yep. I remember when my mom had a stroke, and it was, it wasn't a long period of time. She's actually doing very well. But for that time, I was thinking, oh my goodness, what's going to change, and how am I going to fit yet another thing in my life? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that is a real life experience.
And that's part of the reason why we moved to Southern California. I was in Texas where I got my start in higher ed, but my parents were aging here in Southern California. My sister was trying to put all that together with her own career, and we knew it was time to help them through the end of their life. And so in my first presidency, they both had passed. But it was probably the best decision we made personally and professionally to get closer to them physically, geographically.
And thank you for sharing that, because really there are probably some listeners today that are probably struggling, thinking, how can I continue with a career if this happens? You can. Mm-hmm. You can. And geographically, I think, being there is definitely important, because again, it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what lessons that you think are super important to share with our listeners that you have experienced that pretty much anyone could apply. I'm sure you've got lots of them, but
I would say a couple of those things are, I don't think we often see our own unique strengths and our leadership abilities. And I think especially for women, it is really important for us to highlight when someone has done something well. They've done a project well, they've really come through and delivered, whatever that is, to give people praise and to recognize when they are demonstrating unique strengths, qualities, or leadership abilities that you want to call out, because most of the times we don't see that in ourselves.
Yeah.
And that could plant the seed for a future decision that they make. So I think that paying it forward, certainly that made a difference to me. I would never be in this role had somebody not said to me earlier, well, I see some things in you that are really different and unique, and you should consider this. Mm-hmm. Never would have thought of that myself, So I think that's critically important for the future generations of leaders. And then I think have grace. We never are going to be all that we want to be in all the circumstances every single day of the week, 24 hours a day. And so don't be too hard on yourself. Don't, we all try our best, and sometimes we fall short. and have that grace for yourself, but also have that grace for your team members too.
I agree with that. And I like your what you said about calling out or encouraging, paying it forward, however you put that, when people do things well, because your life is all about encouragement anyway, about, helping people become their best version. Yeah. And that, I think, oh gosh, it's so easy to have the negativity creep in. And you know what? I think we're seeing more now today than ever, in my opinion. I don't know how it feels on the campus, but there's such a critical eye of many people that want to feel that they don't want to encourage people anymore.
Yeah.
And it's so disheartening, I think, because if we're being so critical of one another, how are we ever going to come back together and become more communal and, in a community that has a shared vision, a shared goal of success?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts about all of that? How can we change that? I think you bring something special to this because you are Sunny, of course. But really, I mean, how do we do this?
Well, I just was hearing something about John Lewis, the famous civil rights leader, right? Who was tremendous and just recently passed, but was in Congress for a number of years. And he said to someone, I don't think I would have survived the social media age.
Oh, gosh,
so if you think of everything that we revere and think and remember about our past leaders, if you put them up to the scrutiny of social media and the kinds of behaviors that people exhibit on social media, I don't know if any leader can live up to that. None of us is perfect. And all of us has something that we'd rather not have put under a microscope on social media. And so I often say, I was never the kind of parent that would ever say something unkind at a sporting event.
Yeah.
I might feel it. I might feel really disappointed, but I would never say a negative thing about a person's performance. And so I think we have to remember that I think you reap what you sow. So if you're going to get on social media behind a box and act like anonymous and make horrible comments about people, remember that what you reap, you sow. And I don't know that any of us need to be engaged in that kind of behavior, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's behind the wheel of a car, or whether it's, in social media. I think that aspect, and I think the fact that we can't agree on facts and truth are really problematic for us as a society. I really do believe we've got to wrestle with that. And AI is only going to make that harder.
Oh my gosh, I know. So when you you are speaking my language, by the way. I know you know that. But when I talk to young people about social media, I'm like, it's the devil. I honestly believe it's the devil. It's a blessing because you can actually get a good message out, but it's a curse because then oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes it's twisted.
Yep.
And then someone's like, well, that's not true because I read on social media. And I was like, wait a minute. So I spend a lot of time on my social media, for instance, where I go and find a verified fact because I know it exists and I link to it.
Yeah.
Because I want people to start thinking for themselves. Everything you read on a social media post isn't always true.
And the images we see in the videos.
Oh my gosh, exactly.
And I will tell you, I try to just promote positive messages. I only have social media for my work role.
Yes.
And I promote events and things that are happening that are good.
Yes.
And I just had an interaction where somebody commented on a post and asked in a pretty, I would say, aggressive, perhaps even rude manner, a question. And I thought, I stewed on it for a bit, and I usually don't respond to something like that. And I thought, I'm going to respond in a very positive way. And so I responded, great question. Let me help you understand, blah, blah, And as I did that, I thought, I'm going to say the message to all is to be kind, seek to understand, and see the humanity in each of us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm constantly going to do that on my platform, whatever that might be, whether it's when I speak or whether that's in social media. So I think modeling the way. If we want to create a different future, we have to model the way to that future. Doesn't mean we'll always convince everybody, but we're certainly not going to get down in the gutter with you.
No, and I think it's okay to push back a little bit in a positive way. I agree with you on that because a lot of times people will just ignore it. there are some people that can actually be reached. There really are. I do believe. I don't think they're so far to the angry silo that you actually, there's no hope. I am ever optimistic like you are. And I always think, you know what, if I was, and I tell kids all the time, I like I said, I talk to a lot of kids, and I always tell them, I want two things from you. One is keep the city clean, pick up your trash. But the second thing is to be kind, because kindness goes so far with so many people. And it actually, if they're having a bad day, it might be the one thing that actually soaks in and they go, you know what, I'm kind of out of line here. I'm kind of out of line, and maybe I need to change my opinion or what I'm saying and my view of things. So I agree with all of it. What's next for you?
I am going to continue to do the things that I can do to help and, better my community, but I'm only going to do the things that bring me joy.
I love that.
So I am looking forward to the next phase.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you so much. Really do. Thank you.
The incredible curated SheEO conversation you just enjoyed was brought to you by SmartStop, a leader in self-storage real estate and a company that upholds its core principles of leading together, embracing change, and enhancing everyone's journey. To learn more about SmartStop, please visit smartstopselfstorage.com.
Cloudcast Media.